If your dining table looks anything like this, you know, with dings and scratches, with cup rings, or even with minor spills.
Well, don't worry, because your well-loved table isn't doomed.
Maybe you've had the idea of fixing it yourself, but you're afraid you might make it worse or even ruin the table by trying to do so.
Well, if that's you, this video will help because
beautiful wood is still just beneath this scratch surface and you can coax it out.
And I know this because after building more than 50 custom tables, I've developed a finishing process that consistently delivers professional looking results. If you think you can operate an orbital sander and a paper towel, you can absolutely refinish your table. Now this is gonna work for you, whether your table's busted like this one, or your table's really nice like this one, but it's just got a few annoying marks. It doesn't matter. The easy steps of the process and the basic tools are the same for any table. I'll be showing you both ends of the spectrum so you can see the range that this works for and where your specific piece falls. But let's start on the worst case scenario.
Now, this is my grandfather's table, so like you, I too feel the pressure of potentially ruining it. But it's really difficult to actually ruin a wood table because there's always more wood underneath the wood. Now for the tools you'll need, orbital sander.
And I love my DeWalt for 80 bucks, but you can get a Rigid for 65 or a Milwaukee for 35.
A few pieces of sandpaper for it, a cup, plastic spoons, some flat piece of plastic, some paper towels, and the finish, but it's easy. We'll talk about it later.
And that's it. That'll cover everything on this spectrum. Now let's rip through this.
The first step is to simply sand through the issue.
This is the step that I think a lot of people are nervous about. And if that's you, you can always flip the table over and practice on the bottom. No one's ever gonna see that. Take time getting a feel for the tool and what it does specifically to your table. When you do have that feel, then you can flip it over and work on the top. For tables like the one I'm showing here, and maybe for your table, the defects have gone all the way through the old finish and down to the wood. And despite what you've maybe heard, that's just fine. A lot of people think that you have to use some chemical to strip the old finish. But in most cases, you can just use an orbital sander to just sand right through it. I've started really aggressive here and gone with a 60 grit sandpaper. There are finer grits, but this table's in very bad shape. And we'll use those finer ones later, but I had to go with something really aggressive to sand clean through the old finish and down to the raw wood. And maybe yours is equally as damaged. But what if your table isn't quite this beat up? Maybe like a pesky cup ring or some shallow scuffs, or more likely the table just looks a little tired or dull. Well, we still use the same process, but it can be even easier. Like I just got a call to do that exact thing on a really nice table I had made a few years back. There were just a few rough and dull spots on an otherwise beautiful table. Like maybe something really hot was set down there, or something spilled and it wasn't cleaned up for a while. It doesn't matter. The process is the same.
First thing we gotta do is sand this bad boy.
But unlike that janky table we just saw, I didn't have to entirely sand through the old finish on this one. And that's okay. It just meant that I got to start with a much finer sandpaper.
We're going 150 grit. It's already very smooth.
And if you are nervous to take the leap and do this on your own table, don't worry, I'm right there with you.
Like anxious to turn it on in here. Here we go.
And just remember, if you need to build up your courage, you can always practice on the bottom of the table. And again, we only sand as deep as we need to go to remove the defect. Then sand the rest of the table evenly to that same depth. I had the random orbital sander's power turned way down. I was just lightly scuffing, smoothing the entire surface, and it only took me like 5 to 10 minutes to do this. And all the dust was just captured by the dust bag that all these orbital sanders come with.
Okay. I'm now gonna dust all of this off, and I'm just gonna use some shop towels. Nothing crazy here.
But you could definitely just use normal paper towels. And you're just trying to wipe up that fine film of dust that the sanding left. And you could use a shop vac to do this as well. Just make sure the bristles don't scuff that surface. I like using these paper towels because my shop vac's brush nozzle is more coarse than whale teeth. Just make sure that you're actually trying to scoop and remove dust particles.
You don't just want to spread the dust around. I've found that if you make passes all the way to the end, you can kind of scrape it off the end rather than just smearing it around. And you know you kind of got all the dust off when you're doing this and you're getting less and less dust on the paper towel. There's not much dust coming off of that anymore. So we are pretty close to having this dust free.
This table's been sanded to 150 grit, so we're ready to put a finish on it. But if your table is more like the other one that's far more beat up, we're only at 60 grit right now.
So that's pretty good. It's not perfect. Like I know right here, I hit that with an angle grinder and it went about 1/4 of an inch into the wood. But other than that, it's pretty good for what it was.
And if you are liking this how-to video, you'll probably like our other how-to videos, where we show different techniques and projects that you can do. And if you like our how-to videos, you might also like our how-not-to videos. A like and a subscribe helps us to make more of them. But back to sanding your tabletop.
From here, it's simple. So I started at 60 grit. I now want to do 100 grit. And then we're gonna finish on 150 grit. But if you started on 100, then just go to this one. And if you started on 150, you're done sanding. Skip ahead a little bit.
And I'm not worried that I just drew on my well-sanded table. That's actually giving us a head start. I recommend scribbling all over your surface between grits. Then take the sandpaper at that next grit and just sand through all the pencil. Once you've sanded through the pencil, you know that you've sanded the surface at that grit.
Woo! That's looking very nice. This is now sanded to 100. Let's do 150.
And you just do the exact same thing. And for the finish we're gonna use, you only need to go up to 150. 150 is very smooth to the touch. And if you keep going past that, the sawdust gets so fine that it starts to pack into the wood fibers and it messes up the finish that we're gonna use.
Woo! Wow. At this point, you are now done with by far the hardest part of refinishing a tabletop. The easy part is actually finishing the tabletop. And here's why. Now, if you've seen any other nice piece that we've made, we really only use one finish. And I'll let the other guy tell you. It's gotta be Rubio Monocoat, baby. That wasn't a good one. It has got to be. Am I even holding it up the right way? It's gotta be. Let's get one more. It's gotta be. It's gotta be. It's gotta be Rubio Monocoat. What are you talking about? So bad. It's gotta be Rubio Monocoat. Is that facing the right way? Using this finish is a genuine recommendation. In the illustrious words of Matthew McConaughey,
I've been driving a
Rubio Monocoat.
since long before anybody paid me to drive one.
I mean, technically we have an affiliate link, but I think we've made like $22 off of it. I would go to battle for this finish, and there's two reasons. Number one, it is so easy to apply. It has just never gone wrong. I can't tell you how many pieces before I started using this, I did the woodworking. I got the piece to 95%, and then I botched it on the finish because it was difficult to do. And then the piece looked like shit. That has never happened with this. It's just so easy. Number two, the results of this finish are incredible. The look, the feel, the durability, it's elite. It's professional. It's what I use on all my nicest tables. Let me show you how to use it.
So this stuff is a 2-part mixture. Just order it from their website. Both parts come together. Get you 3 plastic spoons, a plastic cup, the little spreader, and then some paper towels. Then just shake it up. You don't have to worry about bubbles. Before we breeze through this, let me tell you the difference between staining something and finishing something. Staining is exactly what it sounds like. You are only just adding color to the wood. You're not adding durability to it. Whereas finishing something doesn't mean you're adding color necessarily, but it does mean you're adding durability to the wood. Rubio Monocoat does both in one layer. They have so many different colors you can choose from if you want to stain and finish your wood, or you can just go with a pure if you want the wood to be its natural tone. And I'd recommend to use pure to refinish something because it keeps it a similar color to what it was. And regardless what color you pick, the accelerator is always going to be the same. Then it's just a ratio of the 2 jars. The mixture is 3 parts A to 1 part B. So using my highly advanced spoons, I'm gonna measure that out. And use different spoons for the different parts or else you'll start the chemical reaction inside the cans. Using the 3rd spoon, mix it up for like, I don't know, 30 seconds, 45? Shoot, what did I say for the other table?
I don't know, stir it till it's stirred. I stir it for like 20 seconds, and then it's game time.
And game time's the same for every table at this point. You simply spoon some of the mixture onto the tabletop and you squeegee it around. And I used to spread it with paper towels, but I found that doing so made the finish saturate the paper towels rather than going further on the tabletop. But when you squeegee it, the finish is only going towards covering and protecting the table. And you know how with other finishes, it's kind of hard to know how much of the finish to put on your piece? Well, for this finish, the Rubio just tells you. Once you have fully saturated saturated an area, you can't put any more finish on that area. It just keeps spreading out to new areas that aren't saturated. Best of all, it's just not nearly as fickle if shit happens during this process. And shit will happen.
Whoops, got a hair in there. Oh well.
And if you're scared of this part too, do that same trick where you practice finishing it on the bottom side of the table. See what this finish looks and feels like on a hidden spot. Hell, let it cure to see if you really like it. I definitely recommend to do that if you didn't sand all the way through your old finish down to raw wood. Rubio likes to bond to itself and then wood fibers. So if you got a little bit left of whatever the table was finished with before, just make sure the Rubio grabs it. From experience, it probably will. I've finished a lot of off-label materials with this stuff and it's worked every time. And once everything is completely saturated, and you will know, then you just wipe it off.
So now it's definitely going to be tacky, and that's okay. With every pass, I'm removing that standing stuff. I'm starting to kind of glide a little bit. The tack is starting to go away. If you catch the light just right, you can see maybe where you missed a few puddles. And at this point, the monocoat is getting pretty close to tack free.
And you really just keep buffing with fresh paper towels until they glide across the surface without ever getting caught on any leftover tackiness. And once you get to that point, there's not much left.
So yeah, that's pretty much it to finish a tabletop. Pretty doable, right? And yes, this specific tabletop isn't perfect anymore because I gouged the hell out of it with an angle grinder. But for what it looked like an hour and a half ago, that's pretty good.
And if your table wasn't left outside for months, refinishing it can look really good. Hopefully this demystifies the refinishing process and gives you the confidence to do it to your own table. And the number one takeaway, if you are still unsure, just practice on the underside of your table. And guys, that's it to refinish a table. But I know what you're thinking.
Now your next question is probably, how durable is the finish? That's our next video.
That's right, we're gonna put a real wood tabletop finished in 4 different ways through a barrage of tests. Scratches, heat, spills, cleanability, so that you know once and for all what you can expect from your tabletop. We'll see you then, and as always, thank you so much to our YouTube members and our Patreon supporters. We couldn't do it without you, especially Brooks B as a member of the Old Growth supporters. Alrighty, cheers my friends.